Baby 25 always believed that men exaggerate trauma to gain sympathy and avoid accountability. Spent years arguing that male mental health issues are overblown compared to women's struggles. Constantly pointing out how society prioritizes men's feelings while ignoring women's pain. Brother Jake is 28, served 2 tours in Afghanistan as infantry soldier, came back 3 years ago, seems mostly normal, got job at warehouse, always assumed military service was just boys playing with guns and acting tough. Figured combat was glorified video game where men get to feel important. Jake never talks about deployment, just says it was his job and he did it. Typical male emotional repression, avoiding processing trauma through toxic masculinity mindset. Friends in feminist circles always nod when I describe military as patriarchal institution. War is just men's violence taken to extreme. They created their own problems. Spend family dinners lecturing about how military-industrial complex perpetuates masculine aggression. Jake usually stays quiet during my political rants, just focuses on eating. Assume he's either embarrassed about participating in imperialism or too emotionally stunted to engage. Mom always changes subject when I start critiquing military, says we should support Jake. He's been through enough, she says, which I interpret as enabling his avoidance. First sign, something's wrong, comes during 4th of July, fireworks last summer. We're all in backyard watching display when sudden loud explosion goes off. Jake hits the ground instantly, covering his head, completely panicked expression. Takes him several minutes to realize where he is and stand back up. Family acts like nothing happened. Continues watching fireworks while Jake goes inside. Follow him in. Find him sitting in kitchen with hands shaking. Ask what that was about. He just says, loud noises sometimes startle him. It's nothing serious, just takes me back for a second. Dismiss this as typical male dramatics, seeking attention through exaggerated reactions. Assume he's playing up trauma for sympathy, since he can't handle civilian responsibility. Next incident happens few months later during family movie night. We're watching action movie with combat scenes. Jake suddenly gets up and leaves. Find him outside smoking cigarette, looking upset and distracted. Ask why he can't handle fake movie violence if he was supposedly tough soldier. It's not about being tough. Some things just bring back memories. Accuse him of being inconsistent. If military was so traumatic, why did he volunteer? You chose to go there? Now you want sympathy for consequences of your own decisions. Jake looks hurt but doesn't argue. Just finishes cigarette and goes to bed. Start noticing other weird behaviors, but interpret them through feminist lens about masculine fragility. He sleeps with bedroom door locked, always sits facing entrance in restaurants. Constantly scanning surroundings like he expects danger, seems hyper-vigilant about everything. Drives different routes to same destinations, never takes same path twice. Keeps emergency bag packed in his closet with supplies and cash. Chalk this up to paranoid masculine control issues. Need to feel dominant and prepared. Winter arrives, Jake's behavior gets worse, but family still avoids discussing it. He's losing weight, looks exhausted, starts calling in sick to work frequently. Mom worries constantly, keeps asking if he's eating enough or sleeping well. I argue that coddling him enables his avoidance of adult responsibilities. He needs to grow up and deal with life instead of using military service as excuse. Suggest he needs therapy to process his toxic masculine need for drama and attention. Christmas Eve, Jake has complete breakdown during family dinner. Uncle mentions something about Afghanistan conflict on the news. Jake suddenly starts hyperventilating, sweating, looking terrified and confused. Mom tries to calm him down, while Dad looks helpless and scared. Jake is mumbling about explosions, friends being hurt. Need to check perimeter. Takes 20 minutes to bring him back to reality and recognize where he is. Family is shaken. I'm starting to realize this might be more serious than attention-seeking. Spend evening researching PTSD symptoms online. Everything matches Jake's behavior. Flashbacks, hypervigilance, avoidance, sleep disturbances, emotional numbing, all textbook signs. Start feeling guilty about dismissing his struggles as masculine dramatics. Call Jake next day to apologize. He doesn't answer phone or return messages. Mom says he's been isolating more. won't talk to anyone about what happened. Takes 2 weeks before he agrees to see me, meet at coffee shop near his apartment. Jake looks terrible, lost probably 15 pounds, dark circles under eyes. Ask him to explain what he experienced overseas, promise to listen without judgment. I lost 3 guys from my unit, watched them die, couldn't save them. Every loud noise makes me think there's incoming fire. Every crowd feels like ambush. Describes carrying his best friend's body after IED explosion. Friend died in his arms. Talks about civilians caught in crossfire, children hurt during firefights he was in. Explains that he has nightmares every night. Relives worst moments constantly. I can't turn it off. Can't make the memories stop playing over and over. Realize he's been carrying this alone while I criticized him for weakness. Feel horrible about years of dismissing his pain as masculine attention-seeking. Ask why he never told me how bad things were, why he suffered silently. Every time I try to talk, people either thank me for service or tell me to get over it. You said military trauma was excuse for avoiding responsibility, so I kept quiet. Explains that male veterans get little sympathy, expected to tough it out and move on. Society celebrates military service but doesn't want to hear about psychological cost. Women's trauma gets support and understanding, men's trauma gets ignored or minimized. Start researching veteran suicide rates. Discover 22 veterans kill themselves daily. Majority are men who feel isolated, misunderstood, unable to get help they need. Mental health system focuses on women's needs while treating men's trauma as weakness. Jake explains that other veterans told him seeking help would hurt his career prospects. Men who admit psychological problems get labeled as unstable and unemployable. Spend next months learning about veteran mental health crisis and male suicide epidemic. Discover that men are 3 times more likely to kill themselves than women. Society treats female depression as serious medical condition requiring support. Male depression gets dismissed as weakness, failure to meet masculine expectations. Start understanding that my feminist worldview ignored male suffering completely. Always focused on women's pain, while dismissing men's struggles as privilege or dramatics. Jake agrees to therapy after I promise to support him instead of judging. Accompany him to first few sessions. Learn about trauma treatment and recovery process. Therapist explains that combat PTSD is severe psychological injury, not character flaw. Takes years of treatment to process trauma and develop coping strategies. Jake starts opening up about his experiences, sharing details he never told anyone. Describes constant fear, watching for threats, responsibility for other soldiers' lives. Explains that coming home felt like failure, like abandoning brothers still fighting. Civilian life feels meaningless compared to intensity and purpose of combat. At least over there, what we did mattered. Here, I just move boxes in warehouse. Struggles with survivor guilt, wondering why he came home when better men died. Therapy helps, but progress is slow. Setbacks and difficult days are common. Learn to recognize triggers and warning signs. Help create safe environment at home. Family starts talking openly about Jake's PTSD instead of avoiding the subject. Realize that silence and denial made his isolation worse, increased his suffering. After a year of treatment, Jake is doing better but still struggles daily. He'll never be completely normal, but he's learning to manage symptoms. Starts volunteering with other veterans, helping them navigate mental health system. Finds purpose in supporting guys who are going through similar struggles. Watching his recovery makes me completely reconsider my views about male trauma. Men aren't exaggerating pain for attention. They're often suffering alone and unsupported. Society expects them to be strong and silent, then abandons them when they're broken. Military creates psychological wounds that last lifetime, not temporary inconvenience. Jake's trauma is as real and serious as any woman's, deserves same compassion. Now, work advocating for veteran mental health services and male trauma awareness. Try to educate other feminists about need to include men's suffering in discussions. Get pushback from women who think focusing on male pain distracts from feminist goals. argue that ignoring male trauma perpetuates cycle of violence and emotional damage. Healthy men make better partners, fathers, and community members for everyone. Jake's experience taught me that pain doesn't have gender, suffering affects everyone. Dismissing male trauma as privilege or weakness causes real harm to real people. Now when I see men struggling, I listen instead of assuming they're seeking attention. Learned that true equality means recognizing and addressing suffering wherever it exists.